Coming up in today's programme, we find out why Manchester is covered in snowdrops, and it's not just because spring is on the way. Used to run down dirty student halls? Well, things might be changing as we visit Manchester's new luxury student flats. And Manchester has a new coffee shop where you pay by the minute, not by the drink. Good afternoon, you're watching Quays News with Siobhan Maguire and Bradley Harris.
There has been an increase in anti-Semitism across Greater Manchester. A report by the Community Security Trust has revealed an 80% rise in reported anti-Jewish incidents in the city. The report says a greater number of Jewish people are suffering verbal abuse and graves have been vandalised. Our reporter Jim Scott met Salford Rabbi Arnold Saunders to find out how anti-Semitism is affecting the Jewish community.
Anti-Semitism has been on the increase, and certainly that's what I've found myself and within my own community. That said, I don't want to overstate it, and I don't want to worry people either, because it's not as bad as, for example, it seems to be in Europe. Very often when any sort of crime figure is produced, violent crime rate, whatever it is, if there's an increase in that crime, very often people say, it may not necessarily all be down to the fact that there's been a big increase, maybe that people are reporting it more, and that is true, and I would accept that. But nevertheless, the security services, the police, security services, the CSD are doing a wonderful job, and I would urge people to cooperate with them, but not to panic too much. Be vigilant, take obviously sensible precautions, but don't hide yourself away. You want to walk in the street with a skull cap or whatever, you do it and carry on life as normal.
Metrolink have announced that tomorrow's planned strike will not go ahead. Tram bosses and representatives from trade unions were locked in discussions yesterday over pay and working conditions. A strike would have caused chaos for fans travelling to Wednesday's Manchester United game against Burnley. But all trams will now run as normal.
Traffic police are cracking down on reckless road users as part of their campaign Operation Considerate. Drivers and cyclists were stopped by officers on busy roads in the city centre yesterday. They handed out penalties to drivers for a number of offences, including using their phones and straying into cyclist zones.
Now, we are used to seeing poppies commemorating those who died in the First and Second World Wars, but one Manchester gardener hopes a more dainty white flower will help us remember them. Hannah Smith reports.
Manchester is in bloom. The National Trust planted thousands of snowdrops last September that are now finally making an appearance to mark the centenary of the First World War. But why snowdrops?
Snowdrops were chosen because they were planted during the war alongside war graves to remind soldiers of home. They're a symbol of hope and peace, and importantly they come back every year. So if we planted poppies, they would flower for 1 year and then not come back again, whereas the snowdrops will come back and actually multiply by themselves, and eventually we'll get these huge carpets of white across the city.
An installation at Manchester Art Gallery is drawing in the public. I found out what they thought.
It is pretty amazing. It's a really nice tribute. I think it's been done pretty tastefully,
Yeah. You are used to poppies, the red, the colour of red, whereas white's different, it's calmer.
Snowdrops are they're happier, I think, and they're nicer to look at, and I think it's made the whole building look really nice, actually.
It's beauty, isn't it? And with the backdrop of all that death and carnage and everything, it's good to see something good out of something that's horrible, really. So.
Here at Manchester Art Gallery is just one of the many places where members of the public can see all of these snowdrops. Other locations include the Cathedral and Castlefields.
Sean says snowdrops are easy to grow at home.
They are easy to establish as long as you do it correct. So if you plant bulbs, you need to make sure that you've got bulbs that haven't dried out and you plant them early in the season. So September, if you leave it too late, then they may find it hard to flower in their first year.
As a tough little flower, Manchester may be seeing their little white friend for years to come. Hannah Smith, Quays TV News.
Now, most of us know that sometimes student accommodation isn't the most glamorous place to live, unfortunately.
That's right, cramped, cold, not much to keep you entertained, and Siobhan, don't even get me started on the flatmates.
No. But all that may be about to change for students living in the centre of Manchester. Jamie Glover has more.
For hundreds of university goers in Manchester, the expectation of student accommodation is about to change as they swap dingy flats for something a little more luxurious. This luxury does come at a price, with rooms ranging between £139 and £168 per week. But is there really a demand for this kind of accommodation?
I think Manchester is such a hub for students from not just the UK but from across the world, that students are entitled and should be offered, you know, what the rest of kind of non-student population would like. So Lambert Fairfield House really does offer something for everyone. So there's plenty of study space, kind of business suites for doing university work, but in the downtime there's also lots to be done. Prodigy Living is all about community living, so we wanted to provide our residents with, you know, more than just kind of your study spaces, your business suites, give them entertainment as well. So there's a fitness suite, cinema room, bowling alley. It's all included in the price of the rent, so it's like fully comp really, everything's included. And to help with their kind of academic studies, kind of the relaxation we feel is important too.
Prodigy Living have spent £3.5 million refurbishing 2 accommodation blocks in the city centre, and after a stressful day of studying, there's plenty in the building to keep you entertained. You can work up a sweat in the gym, or you can shoot some pool. You can chill out and watch a film in the cinema, or you can even challenge your friends to a game of bowling. This certainly seems like a very striking place to live. Jamie Glover, Quays TV News.
Now, if you've been to the cinema lately, you might have noticed that the most recent childhood character to come to the big screen is Shaun the Sheep. That's right. And of course, our film guru Tom went to check it out. So Tom, did the film pull the wool over your eyes this time? What did you think?
Well, Brad, who would have guessed that to make me like a silent film, all you had to do was put a cartoon sheep in it? The film's brilliant. It tells the story of Shaun and the flock trying to hunt down the farmer after he's lost in an unfortunate caravanning accident.
I don't know, maybe for me, because obviously I'm Welsh, this film would be perfect for me and for everybody else in Wales perhaps, but I don't know. I mean, when did you go to see it?
I went to see it on, just yesterday actually, yeah. No, honestly,
how many people were there, let's be honest?
There were no people there, it was just me.
Brilliant, so it was just you.
No, please let me finish. I mean, first of all, the reason you need to see this film, and you really do, is because it's Aardman, the pedigree that comes with that. You know, Chicken Run, Wallace and Gromit, that Pirates one they did. These are all fantastic, wonderful children's films. They're the Pixar of the UK, and English cinema needs supporting.
I mean, come on, Tom, maybe in your own deluded mind, but I mean, you know, this is Shaun the Sheep. I mean, are we getting to a point now where, you know, cinemas are starting to rip films from other children's TV programmes? It's getting a bit ridiculous.
I find this argument is brought up a lot now with the argument against adaptation versus original screenplay. And I don't think it's a fair one. You're creating a false dichotomy by saying this is art and that isn't art. Well, who are you to decide that just because this happens to be based on a plasticine sheep from a Wallace and Gromit short, that is better than something like The Pretentious Birdman that just sniffing its own self-indulgence. Oh, God, I hate that film.
So just to sum up then, a rating out of 10, what would you give the film?
I don't do star ratings, but I can say this, you'd be bleating mad to miss Shaun the Sheep.
There we are. Well, thank you very much for that review, Tom. So hopefully we'll be seeing that, being a popular film.
Touch wood, yes.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Tom. Now, how many coffees would you normally get through during an hour in your favourite cafe? Well, if the answer's more than one, then there's a new venue that can make your caffeine addiction a bit cheaper. I've actually been out on my daily grind to the new coffee hangout where you pay by the minute. Welcome to Ziffablant, a brand new social space in the Northern Quarter and Manchester's first pay-as-you-stay coffee hangout. The idea is simple. Everything is free except for the time you spend there, because at Ziffablant, time literally is money.
Ziffablant is a shared sitting room, if you like, where you pay for the time that you spend here as opposed to what you consume. So we charge 5p per minute, and that's all. So all tea, coffee, food, biscuits, cake, fruit, cereal is free.
With drinks flowing freely, and with all the biscuits you can eat, you might expect the coffee to taste as cheap as the price. But if you take a sip yourself, you may well be in for a bit of a surprise.
The two things that we didn't want to skimp on was coffee and Wi-Fi. because they're key. The coffee is actually from a guy called Jamie who runs the Ancoats Coffee Company, which is about a 5-minute walk that way. Yeah, Jamie's great, and the coffee is even though we say it, it's really good.
The space isn't just for coffee drinkers either. For all you avid gamers out there, Ziffablant doesn't hold back. They've gone to town with all the classics, and you can even play a spot of chess on the side. So whether you're here for a meeting or just fancy chilling out on the sofa, you can't deny that this new social hub will certainly be something to Instagram about. At only 5p a minute, I think it's going to take a while for me to get back to the studio. Bradley Harris, Quays TV News.
Well, we all know coffee gives us a boost of energy. Well, Sale Sharks may have had a flask or two before their match on Saturday. Would that be the case, Kieran?
Well, it certainly looked that way, Siobhan. The AJ Bell Stadium was the venue to be at this weekend as the Sale Sharks overpowered Llanelli Scarlets in the LV Cup. With both teams already knocked out of the competition, there was nothing but pride to play for. Rhys Chaplin reports.
Welcome to the AJ Bell Stadium, which sees Sale Sharks host the Scarlets in the LV Cup. Both sides currently sit 8th in their domestic leagues. Let's see who can grab the momentum in this game. Sale started the match very bright, with captain Dan Braid scoring a try within 3 minutes to put the host in front. Almost instantly, Sale scored another try from Mike Hanley, after Scarlet's rearguard were left with a gaping hole, which Hanley took advantage of. The hosts then scored their third try of the game a minute before half-time, when a superb counter-attack was finished off in brilliant fashion by Tom Arscott, who has been hampered with injuries for most of the season. Sale went in at half-time with a 21-3 lead over their opponents. Arscott scored his second try of the game in the 53rd minute. Arscott signed a 2-year deal this week and looked to be celebrating with his 2 tries. Sale went on to score 2 more tries through Brady and Fihaki. Director of Rugby Steve Diamond reflects on the Sharks' performance.
The only negativity about today is we're trying to overplay instead of just sticking to structure. We fought 50-60 points better than that team. Yeah, but if we play like that next week in the Premiership, we'll get beat.
Arscott, one of the standout players against Scarlets, looks back on his performance.
To be honest, I was just happy to get through 80 minutes without getting injured today. It's been a bit of a rocky 2 months or so it's good to get out there, good to like you say, get a couple of tries, and good for us to get the win. It was a little bit scrappy, we weren't that clinical today, so we'll be looking to build on that going into next year.
An inexperienced Sale Sharks team overpowered an inexperienced young Scarlets. The Sharks looked comfortable the whole match, and that reflected in the score, with them running out 38-3 winners. Sale's only downfall is that they didn't win by more points. Rhys Chaplin, Quays News.
Now on to football, and it was an exciting weekend for our non-league sides. In the Conference Premier, Altrincham beat Aldershot 1-0 and Macclesfield won 3-2 against Welling. In the Conference North, Hyde lost 3-1 to Boston, and a last-minute own goal earned Stockport a 4-3 win against Stalybridge. In the First Division North, Droylsden won 4-3 away to Warrington, whilst Radcliffe lost 1-0 at Ossett Albion. But the biggest crowd of the weekend was at Plainmoor, where 3,800 people watched FC United of Manchester narrowly beaten by Torquay. More than 1,300 FC fans made the journey to the south coast, but they went home disappointed after an 82nd minute strike from Ryan Bowman ended their FA Trophy dream. That's all the sport we have for now. Back to you, Bradley.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Kieran. Now it's over to Lewis with the weather.
The rest of the day remains cloudy and dry, with a high of 7 degrees Celsius. The rest of the week is also cloudy and dry, with frost overnight, with a high of 5 degrees Celsius. Friday will rain, which will lead into the weekend, so keep your jumpers on, guys, and thank you very much.
That's all we have time for today.
Now tune in again on Thursday for all the latest news and sport. Goodbye.
Goodbye.